Congress is back in Washington this week. Joining us now on What to Watch in the Capitol, Jake Sherman, co-founder of Punchbowl News and an NBC News and MSNBC political contributor. Good morning to you. Let's talk about Mike Johnson and his status and the state of affairs as it relates to his ability to both stay in the job and maybe excel at the job at this point, Jake.
I'm not sure about the latter. Maybe that's a little bit mean, but here's the reality, Andrew. Excuse me. At some point in the next couple of days, we imagine Marjorie Taylor Greene is going to ask for a vote on her resolution to boot Johnson out of the speakership. Now, the likely scenario, because he put Ukraine aid on the floor, Democrats are likely to save him. Now, I don't know how sustainable it is to have politically sustainable it is to have a Republican speaker that's propped up by Democrats. I just think that's a really difficult proposition for any leader. But we are finally out from under these big deadlines. There's no government funding deadline. There's no Ukraine aid deadline. So Mike Johnson has a little bit more room to maneuver.
In terms of maneuvering, what's on the docket? I know there's an FAA bill that's coming up. What else is out there that he's going to have to actually push through or not?
So the government needs to be funded by the end of September. That's quite a ways away. The FAA bill is a huge issue for Mike Johnson and for Congress generally. Everybody's going to be trying to put all of their priorities into the FAA bill. He has a farm bill which sets the nation's agriculture policy. That needs to be done. They're trying to get the process moving there, but there is not a ton. Generally speaking, there's not a huge number of deadlines that Johnson needs to meet.
What is the reaction? I heard about it a little bit over the weekend, and we talked about it on Friday morning, that Wall Street Journal report about the independence of the Federal Reserve and whether Trump would try to upend that. Have you heard about that issue from politicians in your world?
Yes, but here's what I would say on that report and on Trump generally, how members of Congress read the news around Trump. When there are stories that run that say advisors are looking at or people close to Trump are looking at, it's tough to know whether Trump is bought into that process, whether this is just people around him trying to take advantage of the vacuum of the vacuum of structure. There is no structure around Trump. So yes, there's always been movements on Capitol Hill among some to tweak or to fiddle with the Fed. I don't think anyone takes that specifically very seriously.
Jake, we just had Alex. There was another piece over the weekend that the Biden administration is pushing for low rates leading up to the election because it would be probably politically
You know what, though? How you
expedient.
do it matters. Quietly, every president has pushed for it, doing it very publicly.
Well, and what did Trump do?
Trump did it on Twitter before.
No, I know. He did it on Twitter, but this news story, we don't know if it's him or whether
I'm
it's...
just saying,
right.
before. It matters if you're doing things behind the scenes or in public, just for the pressure that it puts on those officials who are there.
I think this is going to... It might get public. Jake, I want to talk about Johnson for a second. I guess we're in a cynical world where it doesn't help that if Democrats voted to keep him in power, that's a sign of some type of... I wouldn't call it bipartisanship, but at least working together on some things. And you said that's not a good way for a speaker to be. And Republicans would never prop up Nancy Pelosi in the past. There's no way that would ever happen. But then again, if you were...
They better do this.
If you were to help vanquish Matt Gaetz and the Crazy Eight, if that contingent... That's a contingent that is really mad that Johnson would collaborate at all with Democrats. But 80% of the country at one point was happy that this was happening. So is that absolutely not a good thing for Mike Johnson long term, that there's just the slightest bit of bipartisanship or cooperation? Is that definitely bad because of the right flank? It makes them so mad?
My estimation is that it is bad. It is bad when a partisan party leader, and again, I don't mean that he's more partisan than the next congressional leader, but he is elected by his party, and to have to go to Democrats to prop you up is not sustainable. Right. I mean,
but if the Democrats don't back him, I mean, that would be kind of forget about ever having any bipartisan support again, right? I mean,
yeah, and then Becky, it shows you that you shouldn't really be willing to take risks in the position, right? I mean, because they said if you put Ukraine on the floor, we will figure out a way to keep you as speaker. I mean, politically, the crass political analysis or take here is that more chaos is good for Democrats. Right. So you could argue it both ways.
Hey, Jake, what's your hot take on the president and maybe Collins' jokes at the weekend? Also, maybe even I heard a lot of people talking about the Howard Stern interview that Biden gave on Friday.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I enjoy these things, as I'm sure you guys do as well. I thought there were funny moments. And I think, listen, I think his strategy, Biden's strategy, or the White House's strategy of going around newspaper reporters and traditional media outlets and going to someone like Howard Stern, who has a huge audience, probably makes a decent amount of sense. We could get mad at it, but he's trying to reach big audiences, and I get that.